Florida resident was identified today as the suspect who sent a dozen pipe bomb packages to prominent critics of the current president, Donald Trump. What might not be surprising to you is that Cesar Sayoc, and forgive me if I mispronounce his name, who is the suspect, to be clear, not convicted. What might not be surprising to you, if the arrest is not an error, is that his white van had pictures of Donald Trump and the presidential seal plastered to the windows. I will say again, Donald Trump did not send pipe bombs. It turns out that Cesar Sayoc did. On the phone, we have Jodi Jacobson, our friend from Rewire News, or rewire.news if you want to find it easier, who is either fortunately or unfortunately timed to talk about our descent into state-sanctioned violence, an article that she just wrote. Jodi, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me from the middle of Pennsylvania.
You're driving around. Are you doing election coverage stuff, or or are you on vacation?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. No, I'm actually doing election coverage stuff. I'm just coming back from Wisconsin, and I'm going to Georgia tomorrow. So, yeah.
I actually would like to ask what you've seen out there, but before I do, let's talk about what's happening. We've just learned that there is a suspect in custody. That happened just before our show started. What happened, I think, what we learned just during the break was that, and for people who want to stay tuned to what's happening, we will continue to give up-to-the-date information on the pipe bomb suspect and the pipe bombings. There now is a suspect in custody, Cesar Sayoc. If there's additional facts you want to offer, obviously feel free, but really want your analysis of how this fits into a bigger picture, or doesn't. Are we overstating the case that this is a part of a narrative arc or part of a way to understand what's currently happening in the world? It's just a bad dude who did some really bad stuff.
No, I think it's not overstating the case. And I think it's part of a continuum of violence that has been promoted by the right wing and, for a very long time at a sort of subterranean level, and now is wide out in the open in the form of a president who has incited violence from the time of his campaign. Let's not forget that, he said stuff like, knock them out, I'll pay your legal bills, tells police, rough them up, don't be so nice. He's said so many things. I mean, he has said that, he at one point on the campaign trail, he thinks that, the Secret Service that were shadowing Hillary Clinton should put down their guns and see what happens. I mean, he is inciting violence openly. So the question of when somebody took that to the next level was not if, but when. And just by comparison, because this comparison is being made publicly in a lot of media commentary, the person who shot Republican congressman at a softball game last year was obviously a disturbed person, and obviously it was a heinous act. But it can't be tied to any candidate because no Democratic or progressive candidate was speaking and inciting violence. So you can have disturbed people that are unattached to any political motive, who have in their head a political motive but are not being incited by a political figure. But then you have a president of the United States that is openly inciting violence. So I don't think it's overstating it. I think we are fooling ourselves if we don't see the connection.
You mentioned Steve Scalise. That has been one of the 4 or 5 main talking points that the right wing has galvanized around over the last 48 hours. And you're right. I mean, Bernie Sanders never said, somebody lock up Steve Scalise. He was not listed on a...
I don't even know that Bernie Sanders ever mentioned Steve Scalise because Sanders is a senator and Scalise is a congressman. And, it's just that comparison is exactly the kind of gaslighting that we are seeing from the right wing, from the Republican Party, and from this administration, not taking responsibility for any of the actions that it is perpetuating. And, you can look at that from a policy vantage point and see that they don't take responsibility. Like right now, their closing argument to get reelected is that they're going to protect pre-existing condition coverage when all they've done for the past 6 years is work to gut Obamacare. But and so they gaslight and lie all the time, and the lies become more and more blatant. But this kind of talking point comparing Sanders is just absurd. It's absolutely absurd.
Krugman tweeted early this morning. So the right-wing line on the pipe bombs is consolidated, and I'll retweet this so people can see it if they want to. I'm Jefferson D. Smith, and you can also tweet at the Thom Hartmann Show. So the right-wing line on the pipe bombs is consolidated. One, it's fake news, never happened. By the way, Dinesh D'Souza, I said his name a second time. I'm so sorry I did. He said the same thing and compared it to women making false accusations of sexual assault. Second, it was a false flag operation by liberals. Third, anyway, the targets, whatever happens to them. Fourth, Donald Trump is the real victim. And you add the fifth, which is the false equivalency. How is the media, and thank you, Jodi Jacobson, for joining us. You're listening to Thom Hartmann Show. How is the media covering this, or what's your analysis of how the conversation is going? Obviously, the huge thrust of of significant right-wing media is on those 5 or so talking points. How are you feeling about the coverage generally?
I think generally the coverage has been really ill-serving the public. Why? Because I think the more important issue, we know what right-wing media are going to say, but the more important issue is what more respected or more, mainstream media are going to say. And all I hear over and over, both from media commentators as well as from politicians, is both sides need to calm down. But that requires a physical leap to consider, for example, that protesters exercising their First Amendment peacefully, whether or not they were yelling, nonetheless peacefully, or people speaking out about sexual abuse around the Kavanaugh hearings, that is making that equivalent to what Donald Trump does every day from the bully pulpit of the presidency. Even today, he's going to have another rally. That is not only a false equivalency, again, it's participating in gaslighting, because we are allowed, in fact, part of our democracy requires us to hold our elected officials accountable. But we have a president, an administration, and a right-wing party in this country now that is hell-bent on destroying our democracy. It's that clear.
Yeah, and Jodi,
so
go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, I think the media, every time they make these comparisons, is misrepresenting they're not doing their job.
Jodi Jacobson from Rewire, thank you so much for being with us. And amen. Personally, my two big concerns are too much focus on both sidishness and too much focus on the president. Got to focus on the movement and what is helping to foment that stuff.